What is up, guys? I got to go to New York Comic-Con over the weekend. I've been a few times before. This is actually the first convention that I've ever been to. I believe in 2015 or 2016, but back then I had no idea what I was doing. I've come a long way since then. And I came as a member of the press, so I got to do some exclusive interview opportunities. I got some reserved seating at a panel. Truly felt like royalty. And like I said, I've been here multiple times before, but this was by far the best year for New York Comic-Con for me. In the name of all honesty, though, I have to admit that a lot of the experience, the good experience that I had at this convention, it came down to just random luck. A lot of it was kind of like Hunger Games, picking out of the crowd for certain events. And both the times that happened for me, I got picked, thankfully, but a lot of people didn't. So I think a big factor on if people had a good time at this convention was just how much did they get to do and how badly they wanted to do it. I'll get more into that later in the video, but I'll just go through my entire weekend, starting with Friday. The first thing that I did when I arrived, I had this business presentation from the people of Blumhouse. It was very interesting. It was called The Business of Fear, and it kind of gave everyone an insight into the behind the scenes, the production company side of making these iconic horror movies. And after the presentation, I got to talk to the president of Blumhouse himself. It was awesome. He was such a cool guy. We talked for maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and it was, like I said, it was just a blast. Everyone there is a fan of the same thing. We all love horror movies, so it wasn't like an awkward blind first date or anything. You know enough about each other just to have a nice conversation, and I met a lot of cool people. There was such a good time. After that, I had a little bit of downtime. Friday was by far and away my busiest day. I basically had stuff from beginning to end. This was the one little block that I didn't have that much, so I just got something to eat. But my next thing was a signing with the legendary George R.R. Martin. And again, I feel like I say something every video that I feel like is gonna get me crucified, but I have not watched or read anything Game of Thrones related, but I do love George R.R. Martin. This is an old book of his. I believe it came out in 1982, and this is a first edition copy of it, and it's called Fever Dream. It's this really gothic, cool, unique vampire thriller horror that takes place on a steamboat, and I read this in middle school, and it's always been one of my favorite books. I don't remember why I started reading it, because I was never a big reader. I've started getting into it a little bit more now, but that's besides the point. He was such a cool guy, and he signed right there all the authors that I met. Well, I only met one other one, but you know, they signed the inside, not the inside cover, but the title page of it. He was very impressed with me bringing this, as you can see by this video that I got of meeting him.
Nothing beats a classic. Nothing beats a classic.
Oh my God.
I cannot wait. I know you wrote a screenplay.
Fever Dream. It's a fever
Can't
dream.
go on with classic. Vampires, nothing better. Can't wait to watch the movie when it comes out.
So we had like 300 people here, right? 300. What? 600 people here. This is the second non-Ice and Fire book outside. I did
It's a
one
classic.
Armageddon
It's a classic. We
Raid
got to
earlier.
teach them. Thank you so much.
As you can hear at the end of that video, they gave me this little coin token. It's from this mint pressing company that does a lot of Game of Thrones related stuff. Maybe he owns it. I'm not 100% sure. But I didn't see anyone else in line get one, so but maybe I just wasn't paying attention. So if you met him, let me know. Did he give you one as well? Although his management was keeping it moving by rushing people through a little bit, he was very nice to every single person that he met. He spent a little bit more time with me, I think just because of the Fever Dream book. And he was free to me. A lot of book signings, all you have to do is buy the book or bring a book. The one stipulation, though, was you had to have a reservation beforehand. Those usually go on sale, or not on sale. They usually go live 3 weeks or maybe a month before the convention, and I was lucky enough to get one. After meeting George R.R. Martin, the next thing that I did was a press line, that's what it's called, for Blumhouse. Once again, me and Blumhouse, we were homies that entire weekend. And what a press line is, I've never done one of these before. Basically, you check in, they give you this sticky piece of paper, you put it on the floor, and all the outlets stand shoulder to shoulder with each other, and the people promoting their new movie will walk up and talk to you. And being that it was Blumhouse in general, I got to talk with a variety of people. So I talked to the director of the new Five Nights at Freddy's movie and the original one as well. You know, it's directed by the same person. as well as a handful of stars from Black Phone 2. I was a little mixed on the first Black Phone, but I've heard nothing but great things about this new Black Phone. And every single person that I met was so nice. They were so generous with their time. I didn't know what a press line was. I just thought it was going to be kind of like a panel and the press just sit and ask questions. This was a lot more interactive. So all the questions I came up with on the fly, but everyone gave great answers, and 3 to 5 minutes with each person, which again, with how many outlets were there, they were really generous with their time. I might include the audio clips at the end of this video if you want to see it, but I won't stitch them here just in case you want to get onto the other juicy details. And finally, ending my Friday was arguably the thing I was most excited for. I got priority seating. I was in the second row for the Blumfest panel. This is going to sound a little crazy, but I have never been to a panel before at any convention, really. I'm trying to think. Yeah, besides the private press events, I've never been to a sit-down panel. And this was at the Empire Stage panel, which is the place to be at Comic-Con. That's where all the announcements happen. And I have to say, this was one of the most fun experiences that I've ever had while doing a convention, because the world's a crazy place sometimes, but it was just so beautiful seeing something so simple as horror movies being celebrated so much, and there was just so much love in the room for something that I'm passionate about too, and it really made my entire weekend, that event alone. They showed some exclusive footage of the upcoming Black Phone 2. They had an announcement video for Insidious 6, but the highlight, the reason everyone was there, was they were going to give some more information on the upcoming Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Holy cow, it was insane, the announcements that they made. So Kellen Groff, I believe, is the voice actor for Freddy Fazbear in the games, and he's voicing Freddy in the movies. Matt Pat, the YouTuber, is voicing Bonnie. And something that I don't really think you can tell by the videos if you watch the panels, they announced that Megan Fox is going to voice Toy Chica in the second movie. And it was everyone went crazy, but it was kind of like, what? Like, people were a little confused by it. I think it'll be cool. I think it's a cool idea to kind of make it an A-list cast or A-list casting choice for Toy Chica. It's just a voice acting thing. I'm excited. I thought it was funny, and I guess we'll see how good she is in the movie when it comes out December 7th. I think. Everyone in the audience got a Five Nights at Freddy's 2 exclusive shirt. It says New York Comic Con on it, and also Five Nights at Freddy's. And then on the back, it's got the design of all our favorite characters. I'm a moderate fan of the games, but I told this to the director. If you stay to the post-credit scenes of this video, you'll hear it. But I saw No Way Home, Endgame, Infinity War. All three of those movies I saw day one. No movie had crazier audience reactions than Five Nights at Freddy's. People were just going ballistic. And again, it was such a beautiful experience to just see something so simple being celebrated so hardcore. And I really hope the second one, the experience is like that. Because like I said, it was the best theater experience I've had in my entire life. There was this room where they were doing the press line and a few junkets. And, as a member of the press, I could just hang out back there. And I have two funny celebrity encounter stories. The first one being, I was turning a corner and I bumped into this guy, and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I look at him and I realize that it's Stephen Yeun from The Walking Dead, and they were promoting Invincible. And I don't get starstruck, but I was more surprised, like, oh, I bumped into someone. Oh my God, that someone is Glenn Reed from the show that I love. So I just stood there. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I'm like, I was trying to say I know you. I was trying to say I'm sorry all at the same time, but he didn't really pay attention. So I only embarrassed myself to myself, and that's okay by me. And then the second thing was, while I was just kind of waiting around, I was waiting for the press line to finish up, and all of a sudden this figure, in a kind of in a little bit of a rush, obviously they had places to be, is walking past me, and I look up and I go, "Are you Ethan Hawke?" And Ethan Hawke looked back and he goes, "Oh, well, somebody's got to be." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, what a cool guy." It really was a unique experience being back in that room. With that said, that about wraps up my Friday. Then Saturday began. Not as crazy, but I still had a lot of things I had to get done. The first of which was I wanted to meet Norman Reedus. He was there one day and one day only, signing and doing autographs. He was doing panels the day earlier, and I guess they just were like, "Hey, you want to be a guest tomorrow?" And he said, "Yeah." So the line was decently long because he was only there one day, but not as long as I expected. It might not have helped that he was $160 in autograph. I get he's big. I get he's basically the face of The Walking Dead ever since Rick left the show, but I think $160 is a little bit steep. I still paid it though, so who's the fool at the end of the day? I wanted to have him sign my 24 by 36 Walking Dead poster. It's huge, and it was a pain in the ass to carry around with me my entire weekend in the city, but I think it was worth it, because he's basically the main character of the show ever since Rick left, and he's the character that's in the most amount of episodes. And now I kind of consider the piece complete. I want to add Andrew Lincoln and Melissa McBride someday, but for now I'm very content with where it is. And I got a video of him signing it, as you can see right here.
Say hi, buddy.
Yeah, pleasure. Howdy, how are ya? The one thing I like more than Walking Dead is the band Blondie, and 6 Ways to Sunday is one of the most messed up movies I've seen in my entire life. Yeah.
I know.
Probably shouldn't have watched it with my mom, but it was so great. So
yeah,
I can't complain.
She's become a really good friend of mine.
Yeah, her album, every single, like, everyone knows her early stuff, but all her new stuff is No Exit. I think is the best album of all time.
Yeah.
Like,
she's cool.
She's amazing.
She fishes and she canoes.
She's just a woman of many things. It was great meeting you. Thank you.
Something that I just want to point out, because it's kind of a recurring theme throughout this entire video, the management staff was rushing people through. There's a big line, that's understandable, but I always am worried about being the asshole that takes up way too much time by, like telling Norman Reedus my life story and how I felt about every single episode of The Walking Dead, so I try and keep the pacing well, and I kind of felt like maybe it seemed like I was rushing a little bit too much, but that's because there was someone behind me basically dragging me out as he was still talking to me. But Norman was amazing. He took his time with every single person. A lot more talkative than he is on the show, so that was also cool to see. The next person that I got to meet was easily the biggest reason that I wanted to go to this convention. I knew I was going to go to New York Comic Con because it's New York Comic Con, but when this person got announced, I was thrilled. And that is the legend herself, Sigourney Weaver. She was $220 in autograph, the second most I've ever spent on one, right behind Ewan McGregor. And some people are going to think this is weird, but I love Alien, I love Aliens, but I didn't want to bring a poster or anything from that movie because everyone else from the movie, Tom Skerritt, Michael Biehn, Veronica Cartwright, and Bill Paxton, obviously not, but her co-stars, none of them I would want to meet for Alien or Aliens, and I don't want to pay for two different autographs because that really can add up. So what I did was I was between either doing the Funko Pop that I have of the Power Loader from Aliens or just like a 8x10 picture, but then I thought, it'd be awesome and more unique. I really like the movie Cabin in the Woods, and she's in that movie at the end. She's kind of like a glorified cameo, and everyone from that's one of my favorite movies of all time. So I could really get a killer poster going, especially since the main characters recently just entered the convention circuit. So I went with that. And she was very impressed with it, as you can see by this video. She was $220 in autograph, which is the second most amount that I've spent, right behind Ewan McGregor at $250. And I just want to do a quick explanation of my thinking process here. I love Alien, I love Aliens, but there's not really anyone else that I would want to meet for that movie. Tom Skerritt I like for other things, Michael Biehn, same thing, and that goes for a lot of the cast members. So I didn't want to do a complete poster or anything. I was thinking maybe I'll do an 8x10 or maybe bring my Funko Pop of the Power Loader. But I landed on a poster of Cabin in the Woods. She's a glorified cameo at the end of that movie, and the main characters just entered the convention circuit. I think that movie is a modern day masterpiece, one of the best modern horror movies ever created. So unique, so meta. And I don't regret my decision. I'll show you guys the item after I play you the video of me meeting her. But before that, I just want to say, this isn't a slight on the convention itself. It's more, to me, just convention etiquette. There was two people in front of me that brought 30 to 35 items for Sigourney Weaver to sign. And I'm not really against that in general, because, maybe it wasn't just a reseller, maybe it was a co-signment company, maybe it was, someone getting autographs for a friend. I totally get that. But the convention, I think, should have had a cutoff of maybe like 10 items per person, and then you have to get back in line, or just wait until the end of the line. This person was one of the first people in line. And again, I have no ill feelings towards any co-signers or anything. You know, I think they do God's work because, you know, conventions can be chaotic and they have to take on the stress of all those people. But, you know, I just think convention etiquette and convention organization is important. But, you know, that's besides the point. The reason I wanted to talk about that is because Sigourney Weaver was pleasant towards them, but you could tell when she knew who was a real fan, she was just over the moon to speak to. There was a person in front of me, or 3 or 4 spaces in front of me, and they requested, hey, I love this movie. You mean so much to me. Can you write a quote? And our manager was like, no. We're not doing quotes. We're not doing quotes. And she looked at the person and mouthed, I'll do it. And she wrote the quote. It wasn't Get Away From Here, bitch. It was from the first Alien movie. It's something about a star. I forget. Brain fart. But I finally get up, and we spent about a minute together. Very, very nice person, as you can see by this video.
Howdy, how are you? I love you as Ripley, but this is just a modern day masterpiece.
Coming in.
Yeah.
Anywhere in particular?
I'm not that picky, wherever you can fit.
Bigger stars.
Aaron, which
No one's more iconic than you in this movie, though. What a great payoff, and all of a sudden Ripley is the director. That's amazing.
Scary.
Oh yeah, it was. Nothing else like it.
My name.
Do you want her to sign on?
Makes me want to see it again.
It's. I just watched it again for the. Amazing. It's amazing. Great meeting you. Thank you.
Again, towards the end, I start stuttering because one of the security put his hands on me and basically was dragging me out of the door. Not in a mean way, as in we got to get things moving. I don't blame them because they were running a little bit behind. Such an honor to meet her because, like I said, I love her from so much stuff. All the Alien movies, Ghostbusters, and now Cabin in the Woods. I have the poster hanging up over there, but I'll insert a picture of it right here. Something that I do want to mention also, because it's going to be relevant in a few moments, they weren't letting people line up until an hour before her scheduled autograph time, which I understand, and it was a fire hazard if they did or something. So they were telling people, well, you know, an hour beforehand we'll let people start lining up, but you can't just stand here. You can't just stand here and wait. So, you know, you can do donuts, you can walk around and but you can't do that. And someone said this, one of the handlers said this directly to me. I'm like, oh yeah, I totally understand. I'll be back later. So 1 o'clock rolls around when you can start finally lining up, and a sea of people just rush right towards the line, and all the staff members of Comic-Con have to like, no, stop, like holding back a tsunami. And they said, you know, we've told you guys you can't. This is a fire hazard. You can't rush up. You can't just be standing here. We know your faces of the people that haven't been listening. So what we're going to do is we're just going to call out the people that we know have been following the directions the entire time. And I'm towards the back of the line, and they call 5 people. I'm like, okay, glasses, come on up here. I was wearing glasses at the time, and I'm like, oh hell yeah. And so I'm walking past the staff member that called me up, and he goes, hey bro, I'm sorry I called you glasses. I just didn't know how to describe you. And I'm like, dude, you can call me whatever the hell you want. I'm 5th in line, baby. I'm not going to complain. And, we had a good laugh about that. So when she finally got there, she was a little bit late, but when she finally got there, I only had to wait like 10 or 15 minutes. You'll see why I brought that up in a few moments, but that wrapped up my Saturday. Sunday, there was really only one thing that I wanted to do, and that was meet the legend himself, R.L. Stine. Goosebumps was the gateway into horror for me, and as I assume many of you, I collected the books religiously. I had all the original 62, most of the Series 2000, most of the Give Yourself Goosebumps, and I stopped collecting around the Most Wanted series. I didn't complete that, but before that, I was a serial collector. I donated most of my collection, but I still had some books left around. And on the website, it said no personalizations, no candid photos, but you can have up to 2 books. So, it's free. You might as well bring 2 books. I brought Goosebumps Series 2000, Bride of the Living Dummy, and this hardcover of The Haunted Mask. This was the first Most Wanted book. Not even Most Wanted, this is just regular Wanted. He was scheduled to show up at, I think, 1:40, 1:45-ish maybe, and they weren't letting people line up until 12:30-ish. The times I don't have memorized, but, an hour beforehand, they were letting people line up. And before people were starting to line up, there was a standby area, an unofficial standby area, and they said, just so you know, he's an old guy. He's only going to be here for a limited amount of time. There's not really a set amount of people that are going to be able to meet him, although on the sign it said 60 people max, which 60 people is not a lot of people. So I wasn't worried. I had such a great weekend so far, so if I wasn't going to be able to meet him, I wouldn't be too disappointed. But like I said, this guy is a childhood hero of mine. I loved the Goosebumps book, so I really wanted to make it happen. So the time comes around where they can start letting people into the line. And they start calling people that have kids first, families first. And I understand that. I really do. As much as I want to meet him, how special would it be if I was a kid at that time and I got to be able to meet him? So, no ill will towards putting families first. And then eventually most of the spots were filled and they were just letting in a few people. And I don't know how many people behind me got to meet him, but I was one of the last people in the normal line to get put in. I think a lot of people got to meet him. He got through a lot of people, which was nice, but thankfully I got a really good spot and I was very happy. So, like I said, I got these 2 books signed. I'll show you the autographs on the front page. Bride of the Living Dummy is signed right there. And my hardcover Haunted Mask book, you have to dig a little bit deeper, but he's signed at the title page once again right there. I don't know if you can see that. I want to make sure. There you go. And I also got a video of me meeting him as well.
Fascinating.
Classic right there.
Yes, have a great day. You could win a Disney cruise with this one.
Yeah,
Look at win a
And
Disney
you missed the Disney cruise before
I'm still
your
waiting
time.
for mine, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty
We
patient.
had 68 families
Oh my
on the
god.
cruise. I had Roy Disney's suite
Wow.
on the cruise.
Learn something every day.
Nice.
And that was really fun.
One of my crowning achievements, he used to be banned in my elementary school, but I was in 5th grade. I
Yeah.
fought the higher power and now
Yeah.
donated my original 62 and now all the kids are reading them.
Nice.
Thank
We
you so
were
much for my
banned a lot
childhood.
back in the 90s.
Yeah. Now, not anymore. Thank you so much.
I got a little bit extra time with him because he was telling a story to his handler or, the person helping him organize books. But he was really cool to me. I was very happy. There's not really much you can say to him because it's basically the same story for everyone. You helped shape my childhood. And I know he's probably sick and tired of hearing it, but I really had to get it out there because this dude, it was a borderline religious following for the Goosebumps book. So it was such a cool thing to meet him. And what a way to round out my Comic-Con weekend, my Comic-Con experience. Such a great time. Needless to say, I will definitely be returning next year. Hopefully I get invited to be a member of the press once again because that made the experience so much. I felt like royalty that entire weekend. I can't stop gushing about it. Like I said, a lot of it was just dumb luck with the Sigourney Weaver thing and with the R.L. Stein thing. I also noticed, I talked to the handlers, the people that were in charge of saying, the Hunger Games, like, all right, you can get in, you can get in, you can get in. And I just wasn't an asshole. Some people were yelling like, oh my God, I want to meet him and you're not, yelling at the people isn't going to help at all. Just be nice to them like I was and you'll probably be fine. That's the Comic-Con way. Do not be a douchebag. With that being said, thank you so much for watching and I hope to see you at another con in another video. Bye.
Thank you.
Howdy, nice
Hello.
to meet you.
Howdy, nice
I'm
to
Cameron.
meet you.
I saw it opening night, the first Five Nights at
Oh,
Freddy's.
nice.
And I saw No Way Home opening night, Infinity War opening night, Endgame opening night. There was no crazier audience reactions.
Really?
True, bottom from my heart. I say this
Oh,
all
wow.
the time. It was the most fun I had in a movie theater.
That's so cool.
What can we expect for Five Nights at Freddy's 2 in
Oh,
terms of
gosh.
just audience reactions and cranking up to 11?
Well, I hope more of the same, and maybe even bigger than the first one.
That's what I like to hear.
The movie is bigger than the first one, so I'm hoping the reactions will match that. And we've really tried to cram it in with Easter eggs and references that I think the fan base will really be excited about. But on top of that, it's just like this thrill ride. So I think even if you don't get all the references, you'll still just have a ton of fun. Scream, laugh, all the
Yeah,
things.
I'm a casual game fan, and I
Okay.
I had such a blast. It was my favorite movie of the year. We could just, we need to have fun in the cinema. That's
Yeah,
that's
I
why we go to
agree.
it. And when you were creating the first one, was there an inkling of just secretly, I hope I come back for the second one, and you were just kind of planting ideas,
Yeah. I mean, we all hoped that we'd get to build off of the first, but we were really focused on the first and, not taking anything for granted. We weren't sure how people were going to receive it. So this was the dream scenario to get to make another one.
Absolutely, yeah. And I know practical effects for the most part were used. You had
Yeah.
actual people. And how important was that to you in creating the Five Nights at Freddy's universe?
It was really important. We were wanting to approach it tonally, in a very tactile and also nostalgic way. So both in terms of the builds of the animatronics and keeping those mostly practical, and all the special effects, doing as much as we could on set was really the priority.
Absolutely, yeah. And I know I'm jumping the gun here, but are there any plans for maybe Five Nights at Freddy's trilogy or even more down the line? You got any inklings in your head?
I think we'll see how this one does, and fingers crossed. And we'd love to keep making them.
I know it'll do amazing. I can't wait to see it. It's
Thank you.
amazing talking to you.
Nice
Thank you so
Cameron.
much.
Appreciate it.
Howdy, how are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Cameron, nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
So first, I feel like this is the most important question. Are you yourself a horror fan?
You know, yes. 3 years ago, I said that I wasn't, and that was such a big mistake because I think there was truth to that. You know, 3 years ago, I was, how old was I, 15? And yeah, I mean, stepping into this new genre was different. But now filming 2 horror films, I gotta say, man, these movies are hella fun to make. So it's really, really cool to do that. And I had a lot of fun on the first one, had a lot of fun on the sequel. And I'm looking forward to making more horror films.
It's the greatest genre, so I don't know.
It's fun.
Oh, yeah.
It's fun.
So the first one, that was your first acting role in a movie,
That was
right?
my first job ever. Before any commercial, any short film, any being an extra on something, like anything. That was my first time being on set for anything.
So those are pretty big shoes to fill that
Yeah.
early on. Yeah, how was that like? Was it a lot of pressure, or was it just like...
You know, pressure? No, not really, man, because I'm doing what I love to do. I started acting when I was 10. That was 8 years ago, and my first opportunity was a Universal Picture and Blumhouse production film. You know, that's amazing. So I couldn't be more grateful for that. And now coming back to the sequel is something even more special.
So you were 15 when you made the first one. Did you prepare by the book's pretty heavy. Did you prepare by reading it? Or, okay.
No, I looked into the original story of Joe Hill that he wrote, I believe, like 20 years ago. And he spoke about it. He told me about it on set. And yeah, I mean, you as an actor, you try to do as much research as you possibly can. And now, especially going into this sequel, there was a whole lot more research going into this. You know, we really explore that world of grief and that world of Black Phone 2 in this film.
They're kind of also flying blind because there's not really a direct book to follow with that.
Exactly. This is all just straight from their creativity. You know, and they are very creative people. You know, I can very confidently say that they're just masters of their work.
And Scott Derrickson, again, one of the greatest directors. It wasn't like working with him.
What a pleasure. I mean, exactly. My first film, working with a director like Scott, that's such a big accomplishment. I'm so proud of that. And I mean, coming back to play Ernesto and work with him on the sequel, he's such a talented director. He works so well with his actors. He communicates really good. I mean, he's just, I want to be a director myself, you know, and learning from someone like Scott there's no better film school than that. So, I mean, working with him was an absolute pleasure.
Absolutely, yeah. And final question, most important one, what's your favorite horror movie?
Favorite horror movie? Great question, man. You know, I used to be very terrified of Pennywise, and I'm a big fan of him now. I love the whole Conjuring universe, man. I think that religious horror is special. I'm directing and producing my own religious horror short film. So like, I'm having a lot of fun in this horror industry, man. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I can't wait to see that.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, it's a
Thank
pleasure.
you so much.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
The movie is I believe.
Howdy, nice to meet you. I'm Cameron.
Nice to meet you.
First and foremost, are you a fan of horror yourself?
I am not a big fan of horror
Grief
films.
was a big one.
I appreciate the honesty.
But also, they
go
have
figure.
the same heart. They have the same
And
soul.
I've done a few, but
Robin
I think it's
was a positive influence in the first one, and now Ernesto is a positive influence in the sequel.
it's much more fun to make a horror film than to watch it. To me, at least.
He interacts
And
the
so,
most with...
I'm a big fan of the first one. Were you familiar with it before you came out? Did you use it to study this new one?
I hadn't seen it when I got the call from Scott, so I saw it right away, and I remember thinking, I want to be a part of something like this. When I saw the first,
it's a different character.
And I thought it was
No, that's a
great
question.
movie making.
I only seen
Cinema
Ethan when
at
he
its
was
best.
in character.
And you want to be a part of something like that. You as an actor.
But he's
And what was it like working with Scott Derrickson, who just is, in terms of horror especially, just an absolute genius?
He's a great filmmaker.
I mean,
period.
It's
regardless of the genre.
Legendary actor you get to
He's not a horror filmmaker.
Right.
You know, he's a great
You obviously
director.
saw this.
And great directors can do any genre
Okay, so
because they know exactly what to
see
do.
it all put together.
He's not
and, like,
only
all the jump scares. Can you get into it like an audience?
very generous, but he's also
You know, the first time I saw it in the perspective of Miguel, right?
He
I
believes
saw it
in
from my
collaboration.
perspective, and I
he brings
loved it. But then
the
the
best
second
team
time I saw
possible.
it recently, I
to
saw
make
it,
everybody's
that
work
the audience, okay, I don't
better
know what's
and
gonna
easier.
happen.
Absolutely, yeah. And it just, like,
Who are these
I feel like
characters?
this is kind of the
What is
master
story?
class in a
And
way
once
of like
again,
if you can
I
do a
was
good
both
horror
fans.
movie.
Yeah. Yes, but it's basically because it's a great film. It's a great horror film. But it is, first of all, it's a film. It's a beautiful piece of art.
All of his films are just unbelievable.
I agree with you.
And without giving too much away, is what it specifically, when you first read the script, attracted you and said, I want to do this?
The scenes that I read, the scenes that, I mean, not only the great story that I read, but also every scene that my character has in the film, and especially one scene that Mason and I have. That scene, I thought, okay, I wanted to make this film, you know, and I was looking forward to that scene, and it was so beautiful to shoot it right in the middle of that cold, and it worked. The scene worked so nicely because of Mason.
I bet. Yeah, he's amazing
Because
too.
of him. It was very, very difficult to carry it. And he did it with such precision and such great tempo and great, you know, sense of timing and everything, you know, very nicely done.
Absolutely, yeah. And final question. I know you're not the biggest horror fan, but do you have a favorite horror movie yourself?
Oh, yeah, totally. You see, I don't like the films that scares you, like, boom, out of the blue with the sound effects. So I'm a big fan of the subtleties. I love subtleties, I love style. So I'm a big fan of course, you know, The Exorcist, The Others, and Black Phone.
Good answer. That was a good answer.
1 and 2.
Yeah, don't tell anyone else that was the best
No.
answer I've gotten to this question.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much. It was amazing talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Howdy, nice to
Hi,
meet you.
nice to meet you.
All right, so first and foremost, are you yourself a horror fan?
A huge horror fan. How could I not be?
Okay,
Like,
that's
come
the
on,
correct answer.
you
That's the
know?
correct answer.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of scared to ask this one.
Oh,
You were
shoot.
so young when
Yeah.
you were in Black Phone. Did you read the book when you first?
I read it after we did the movie, and so I read it a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But it is so good, and I think the way they turned it into a movie was so genius. I mean, Scott and Cargill are beyond talented. I've said it in every interview because
Absolutely.
it is true, and they just put such a great spin on it, especially going into a sequel. I don't know how they figured out how to continue it, but they did it in the perfect way.
And what was it like reuniting with Scott again on
Incredible.
another film?
He is easily one of my favorite people to work with. I just feel so blessed getting to work with him because I feel like with child actors in the industry, it's very rare to see directors or just like adults in general treat them with respect, and
Right.
Scott truly does treat you as an equal on set, and it is just overall a very collaborative experience. So I feel so honored that he trusts me so much with the character Gwen enough to return.
And he's just such a genius too. And it's like,
Dude, it is crazy how his mind works. I
yeah.
don't understand.
Yeah, so many classics already.
I
in such a
know,
short
I
amount of
know.
time. But so when you were making the first one, was there ever any talks whatsoever about where you might come back for a sequel or any plans?
I mean, definitely not during the first movie because I feel like the reaction we got was very unexpected. But during the press tour for Black Phone, Scott hinted that there was possibly going to be a second one, that they had already had some ideas.
And here we are.
Here we are, yeah.
And so not only are you a female lead, but you're also like a female lead that's also a child, which
Yes.
is kind of, and I feel like most of the time in media, children are kind of seen as like, the annoying side character,
Right,
but now
right.
this is a child led, and and in my opinion at least, someone that's around the same age, it's likable. So what was that like reading it as a kid? Do you think, this is a likable character? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely felt a lot of pressure going into it, knowing that Gwen's role has grown a lot since the last movie. I feel like she is so strong and brave, and I feel like people love her because of her feisty side. And, you know, I feel like we love a character that's not afraid to say what she thinks, especially Gwen.
I
That's
agree.
Probably her biggest characteristic is her feistiness. But I also think it's really important to, like, see how her relationship with Finn has grown so much since the first movie. And, yeah, I really hope people love all of the emotional aspects in it. I feel like there are a lot more layers to this one.
In a weird way, it's like a family movie.
That's what I'm saying. I feel like that's why it's so genius how they did this sequel, is because at the same, it is obviously a horror movie, and the grabber is scary and terrifying and insane and a killer, but it really is about the sibling bond that Finn and Gwen have. That is the heart and core of the movie, and I feel like that's so important to remember, and that is why it's so extremely different from any other movie, in my opinion.
That's why I think it was just such a juggernaut when it came out.
I know. I totally agree.
And final question.
Yeah.
Arguably the most important one.
Oh.
What's your favorite horror movie?
Ooh, I feel like it's so hard. I'm gonna go with. Ooh, you know what? I recently just watched Heart Eyes, and honestly, that was very enjoyable. I thought that movie was so fun and also scary. You know, kind of a slasher. Definitely a slasher.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. That was probably the best answer that I've gotten. I think
Really?
it's such a surprise. Such
Thank
a surprise.
you.
Yeah, it was so good.
I feel like it was so it's so good. It caught me
I
off guard.
like horror and comedy, and I don't think
Same. That's one of my it's my favorite combo. Horror,
You don't get
comedy
any better.
movies it does not get better than that.
peanut butter and jelly.
Very
horror comedy,
entertaining. Keeps you on your toes.
doesn't get any better. Thank you so much. It was
Thank
nice
you so
meeting
much. Pleasure talking to you.